If you plan to buy in Victoria, you need to know these changes before you make the plunge because they are very, very big changes. And in this video, I'm going to break it down for you piece by piece. But the one thing that everyone wants to know is whether or not we should be considering Victoria as a place to invest. These new rental changes may put the brakes on that. And I'm going to break it down for you. Because as we know already, Victoria has some of the strictest and tightest tenancy laws out there and minimal rental standards, and they're about to make it even more tighter. So you may be sitting there wondering, what are these changes they are making? They're making one big change, and I would say one minor change. And this is already coming into effect. And as you can see here, the changes build on the existing minimum standards being introduced by a new minimum standard for blind cords for residential rental properties and heating standard for rooming houses. These are the two big changes coming to Victoria. From December 1, 2024, if a rooming house operator installs a heater in a residence room, it must be a fixed heater secured to a wall, floor, or ceiling of that room. From 1st of December 2025, rooming house operators must install a fixed heater secured to a wall, floor, or ceiling of each residence room. And that heater must be a fixed one, and it's going to be electric ducted heating, an electric non-portable heater, or a non-ducted air conditioner with a 2-star or above rating. This is a huge and expensive change that you must factor in when considering to invest into Victoria. And realistically speaking, these are going to be implemented and mandated on the 1st of December of 2025. That's because from December of 2024, if you decide to install a heater in a residence room, whatever room it may be, it must be a fixed heater. So you don't have to do it right away or straight away. But on the 1st of December 2025, you better make sure that your house is compliant with the fixed heater in every single room. Whether that be a 3-bedroom room with a living room or a 4-bedroom with 2 living rooms, you need to ensure that there is a fixed heater in each one of those rooms. And so you need to do your research to find yourself a wall-mounted heater or a sort of air conditioner, non-ducted air conditioner that has a heater aspect to it as well. You can also find fixed panel heaters that you can do researches and look at the price of them. But I can estimate that anywhere from around $500 to around $2,500 per heater you need for a house. And so if you're looking at a 3-bedroom house, you're looking anywhere from $1,500 to a couple of grand, $5,000 to $7,000. And if it's a 4-bedroom house, I would estimate anywhere from $2,000 to about $10,000. And that is a lot of money. It's not a spare chunk of change. It is quite significant. So you need to factor that into your costs. Say, for example, you start looking at different properties within Victoria and they don't have heaters for any reason, then you need to actually factor that cost in when deciding to purchase a house within Victoria. Because if it doesn't have it in there now, you most likely will have to. And if you're buying property in 2025, then you're most likely going to hold on to that property till the end of the year. And December is not too long away. It's less than 11 months. So you need to factor that cost in, which is going to be anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 in my opinion, based on the heater you get. And I'm going to give you a bit of advice, and that's not to actually cheap out on this sort of material and this sort of machinery, is because it's going to cause you more headache down the line if you buy something cheap that constantly breaks. Because now it's a minimum standard, you have to replace it or repair it if it goes bad. So what's the other minimum rental standard that you need to take into consideration? And that's blind and curtain cords standard practices. So unsecured blind or curtain rods pose a risk to serious children who can get tangled in those loose cords. From December 2025, all corded internal window covering in residential rental properties must have an anchor installed to ensure the cords are secured or tensioned and can't form a loop. So from what I understand, you can actually order a free curtain and blind cord safety kit, which is a very good initiative. And this is a small little fix that you have to make to your rental property. This will have minimal impact. You can either order a free one or you can purchase it. And I can estimate that anywhere from around $30 to around $200 to $300 to get that all fixed up for you. That's a very minor change. So the big change really we're talking about is the heating system in 2025 that must be implemented in December. Now, of course, not only the new minimum standards we need to be looking at, you also have to factor in all the old minimum standards that Victoria has as well. And if you're wondering what they are, you can head to this website over here, which actually details it out for you. But before I get into that, if you have not already, make sure you are subscribed to my private community. We have over 100 members within the community. It's an amazing community. We're always helping each other out, and there's also a 30-day money-back guarantee. So it's essentially risk-free. So go try it out. It's amazing value, and you can ask me any questions at any point in time. I am super duper responsive. Let's get back into the video. And I just wanted to talk about these minimum rental standards because there are quite a few within Victoria that you need to take into consideration about investing into it. These include anywhere from bathrooms to electrical safety. A lot of the Victorian homes you'll find are on old switchboards and circuit breakers, and they will need to be updated and replaced with the new ones according to the minimum standards, as well as heating requirements, kitchen, laundry, lighting, etc. Mold and damp and structural soundness are a big one. You can avoid them by doing a good building and pest inspection. The other ones are like window coverings. You need to have good curtains and blinds that can be fully closed and block lights and provide privacy, because even the smallest little things, they can knock you back for compliance, and that's going to put more stress onto yourself. And if you really factor all of these things in, it can cost you anywhere from 10 grand to 100 grand to get a property up to compliance. However, I want to put some caveats on this, right? The properties you find will not need all of these things done to it. Obviously, if you do a building and pest inspection and you do it properly, then these mold and damp and structural soundness, you shouldn't have any issues with. You shouldn't need to fix anything up. That cost should be gone straight away. A lot of the time, things like locks, toilets, ventilation, they're already fixed in. So you really won't have some of these costs to deal with in the first place, and they can be deducted as well from there. The biggest ones that I generally find in Victoria where they lack compliance is the shower head, the electrical safety boards, as well as the window coverings and window latches, which are sort of the biggest ones that I take into consideration that are usually non-compliant. And when you really take these out, left with about 3 grand or 12 grand on the higher side. So to be completely honest, you really should expect anywhere from 2 to 6 grand to make your property compliant within Victoria, and you should be doing your due diligence anyway prior to buying that property and estimating what needs to be done to that property to ensure it's compliant. If you don't do that, then you're just asking for trouble anyway. Now, is there actually a way to get around all of this stuff? Well, the short answer is no, and the long answer is it's a little bit more complicated. The only way you're going to get around all these current minimum standards, apart from the new one, is actually by finding a property within Victoria that already has a tenant in there and it's already compliant. That's the best way to avoid additional costs, right? If there is a tenant inside that property already, the property must be compliant. You can put a clause in your contract to ensure that the property is compliant because there is a tenant in there, and you can ensure that the property that you purchase is compliant. Now, I will tell you from experience that most properties that are not compliant are the ones that you purchase from owner-occupiers. They're the ones that are usually missing air conditioners, heaters, that have non-compliant window coverings, latchings, curtains, etc. The owner-occupier homes are the ones that are usually not compliant. So make sure you do your due diligence, make sure you buy the right property, make sure you work with a property manager and a building inspector to ensure the property is compliant prior to purchasing the property, or at the very least, you find out what needs to be done before you purchase that property. Be smart about it, be logical about it, and you can avoid a lot of this cost and this monetary risk. Of course, there is nothing we can do about these new minimum rental standards apart from buying a property with a heater that is already in there. However, at the end of 2025, you need to factor this in that you will need a fixed heater in each room. And by the way, guys, this is actually no joke. I'm being very serious about taking your time, being very careful about buying property in Victoria, because the last thing you want to do is buy a non-compliant property, have loads of stuff to repair, and it's going to cost you a crap ton of money. And the reason I say this is so important is because if your property does not meet the minimum standards, they also actually have the right to end the rental agreement even before they've moved in without any monetary loss. And if your rental provider fails to repair the property that doesn't meet the minimum rental standards for whatever reason, then they can arrange any repair for the cost of under $2,500, which you will be required to reimburse them with. In Victoria, you want to take the lower risk approach. You want to be risk averse. You want to be smart about your decisions that you make, and you want to make sure your property meets the minimum rental standards. So I hope this video has helped you, and if you have any questions, leave it down in the comments below. And to be honest, YouTube is very smart, so they will actually recommend a video for you that you should definitely go check out.